Have you ever felt like your career needs a bit of a change? Maybe you are feeling stuck, or maybe you're feeling very comfortable and you're not growing or feeling like you're moving forwards. If this is how you currently feel, then this video is for you. I've definitely had moments like that in my own career where I felt pretty comfortable and also pretty stagnant. And what I've realised is the difference between those people who feel stuck in that place versus the people who feel like they're progressing often comes down to three main things. And these are to do with the skills that you build, the habits that you put in place, and the mindset shifts that you make. A lot of the time, people think they need to make a massive big change, like a big career switch or a big promotion or changing roles completely. But actually, it can be a lot more subtle than that. I want to talk about the skills, the habits, and the mindset shifts that you can start to implement today that can just be small changes that don't need any drastic changes that will help you feel like you're progressing in your career, making a little change, and developing yourself to move forwards. So let's start with the first one, skills, because this is often one of the fastest ways to start creating new opportunities for yourself. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make in their careers is assuming that experience will automatically lead to growth. But experience by itself doesn't necessarily mean that you're developing yourself and learning new skills. It could just mean that you're repeating the same year over and over again. The people who progress in their careers the fastest are typically the same people who are very intentional about the skills that they're learning. They're thinking about what skills are valuable. They're thinking about what they will need to do to stay current in the industry. They're looking around them and seeing what other people are doing, other industries are doing, other companies are doing, and they're trying to stay ahead of that. They're thinking about the future direction of their career and trying to align their skills to where they want to get to. There is only so much your current role is going to teach you, especially if you've been there a while, have got pretty comfortable, and you know what you're doing. Then things can start to become pretty repetitive and it can feel like nothing is new anymore. But your job at your company isn't the whole picture. So if you're able to step outside of that, take a more zoomed out look and approach to everything, start to look at how different industries are behaving and noticing the trends and what skills are becoming more valuable, this is going to be so important for your future career and for your self-development. A question I sometimes think about is, if I were to suddenly be put on the job market tomorrow, would I be set up for that? Would I be able to find a new job? Are my skill sets aligned to everything that's out there? Or have I become too comfortable in my current role that I've forgotten to look at the bigger picture? Have I become so comfortable that I've forgotten to learn new skills? And have I become stuck in this little box that I've managed to kind of put myself into? And this is especially relevant in tech, where things change so quickly. Tech rapidly evolves and we have no clue what the tech world or the industry is going to look like in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5, 10 years' time. So we always need to try and stay current and stay aware of what's going on around us and play an active role in trying to develop our skills outside of our current role. As software engineers, technical skills are obviously going to play a big part of this. And there are so many different ways you can continue to keep developing them. So maybe it's about learning a new language or a new tool that's relevant to your field. Or maybe it's about completing an online course or working towards a certification. But also, it doesn't need to be anything super big. So maybe it's about the little things that you do that all add up. So for example, subscribing to a newsletter where you hear about relevant industry news or new tech topics. Maybe it's about watching some educational content on YouTube. Or maybe it's to do with reading a few chapters of a book, or listening to a podcast. And these can be things that don't need to take up hours of your time. You can just do 10 minutes a day or little bits here and there that just help you stay aware of new things and new trends. There are so many different resources out there now and so many different ways to expose yourself to new information. So maybe you're someone who prefers hands-on learning, and one platform that I really like and have used is Scrimba. Scrimba is great for this because it's very interactive and you get to code along while you're learning. This video isn't sponsored by them, but I do have a link which gets you 20% off that I'll leave in the description box below if you do want to use it. But either way, you need to work out what formats suit you, what styles of learning suit you, and what you can slot into your routine that helps you develop forwards. And although a software engineer's role is largely technical, I think people often forget about the soft skills that are also equally important. Being technically strong is very valuable, but the people who progress in their careers tend to be those who also have the soft skills to complement those technical skills. For example, communication is a huge one. So being able to communicate your ideas clearly to technical people, non-technical people, people of all different levels and all different positions, being able to explain those ideas both verbally but also in written formats, being able to document things clearly so that everyone else knows what's going on, being able to have discussions and discuss different solutions and different drawbacks, trade-offs. All of these things are so valuable to a software engineer's role. The way you communicate also makes such a big difference to how people see your work, how people see your work ethic, and how people perceive your value. So if you're able to explain things in a clear way, if you're able to communicate those ideas so other people can understand them, that changes how they view you. And also, a lot of the time, opportunities come from visibility. So if you're making your work visible by making it easy to understand, this is where the opportunities will come from, because people will trust you, people will know that you know what you're doing, and they're able to understand your work a lot more clearly, so they can see the value that you provide. And alongside that, skills such as curiosity and taking initiative play a big role. So there's a big difference between someone who just gets their work done, ticks things off, picks up a ticket, completes it, and moves on to the next, versus someone else who pauses to think about things, who asks questions, who thinks about things more deeply, and really tries to understand the why behind things. For example, being curious might look like asking why things the way they are, and why can't they be done a different way, or why is this working or not working, and what can we do, what different approaches can we take? It means properly trying to understand the systems and everything underlying it over just completing it and doing the bare minimum. And then initiative is what you do with that curiosity. So it's about noticing areas that could be improved, or thinking about what steps you can take next before being asked. So when you start being more intentional about building these soft skills, about working on your communication, being more curious and having more initiative, it opens up a lot more opportunities because of the way that people perceive you, the conversations that you start to have with different people, and also it makes your work a lot more interesting for yourself as well. So after skills, the next area that can make a big difference is the habits that you build into your routine. So these are the things, they could be really small changes and really small habits that you just build in maybe daily or weekly, but they'll be regular and consistent. And these things done consistently are going to be way more important than the big things that you do maybe sporadically or occasionally. So I'm going to share 3 simple habits that you can start to implement straight away. Number 1 is taking the time to reflect regularly. whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. It's so easy to pick up a task, complete it, move on to the next one, or work on a project and then move straight on to the next one without taking the time to reflect, without taking the time to think about what you've just done and what you've just learned. It's easy to get caught up in just thinking about what's next rather than reflecting on how you're growing, how you're improving, and what you need to do differently next time. So even just asking yourself simple questions like, what did I do well? Or what could be improved next time? Or what do I want to do differently? Can make such a big difference to your growth going forwards. And number 2 is asking for feedback regularly. So whether that's about having conversations with your manager, maybe in one-to-one meetings, or reaching out to teammates and colleagues and asking for their feedback, or having conversations with stakeholders, getting their opinions and their views. And I get that it can sometimes feel a little uncomfortable or a little awkward asking for feedback. But if people don't want to give you feedback, that's fine. Move on to the next person. But more often than not, people will be so open and so willing to give you that feedback and to help you out. You have nothing to lose from asking people for their feedback. And it's one of the fastest ways to understand how you're perceived and how you could improve going forwards, especially if you're asking those people who are more experienced or the people who were once in your position. And finally, the third habit is something that's underestimated, and that's about building relationships. I think this is being forgotten about a little because when people think of progressing in their career or being successful or winning at life or achieving things, they think about it from a very siloed, selfish perspective, especially with the way a lot of people work remote now. We forget about the people around us, and actually people grow fastest when you have people and a community and people around you supporting you. This is so important. So, for example, at work, this might look like just building a relationship with your manager, just so that your manager knows what direction you want to go in. They know what your goals are and they can help support you to get there. Maybe it's about the relationships you build with your team or your colleagues, so that again, they can support you and everyone can kind of help each other along the journey. I really think everyone has so much to learn from other people, and if you don't build those relationships, there could be so much you're missing out on. Or maybe it's about speaking to people at your company who are in roles that you want. Maybe finding mentors who can guide you in the right direction. And again, people who will look out for you, who will advocate for you, and who will support you to get you where you want to get to. And outside of your company, it's worth building connections more broadly. So, who are you outside of your work? Are you interacting with people in your industry? Are you staying connected with people? If you meet someone, are you following up with them and staying in touch? If you were to be made redundant tomorrow, who would you fall back on? Not that you can expect those people to help you out, but so many opportunities and connections can come from the things you do outside of work. So make an effort to build those relationships outside of work, whether that's in real life through meetup events or networking events, or whether it's virtually and you're having discussions on LinkedIn, or you're attending different conferences and you're meeting people in different ways. Building this wider network can bring opportunities that you might not have had access to otherwise. So we've talked about skills and we've talked about habits, but even with the right skills and the right habits in place, all of that is meaningless if we don't have the right mindset to go along with it. So let's talk about mindset. I think mindset is arguably one of the most important things. The mind is so powerful, and I genuinely think it has the power to change the outcome of your life. Anyone can learn new skills if given the time. But not everyone has the right mindset, which allows them to apply these skills, which allows them to keep developing and keep moving forwards with their career in a way that they feel confident and they feel positive about their future outcomes. Making changes, putting yourself out there, taking a new job or switching careers is often pretty scary and is definitely not easy. So it's the mindset that you need that is going to determine whether you actually progress with that or whether you stay stuck and don't move forwards. If you had two people with exactly the same skill set, exactly the same experience, but one of them had the mindset that they believed they could do it and the other one didn't, the one who believes in themselves is almost always going to go further than the one who doesn't. And I don't think anyone could argue with that. There's a quote that I really like: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And it sounds so simple, but it's so true. I think everything starts with your thoughts, how you think about yourself, and how you think about your abilities. So your thoughts have the power to influence how well you do and also influence the outcome of your work. This means they also influence how other people perceive you, because if you're confident in your abilities, that's going to translate across to the confidence and the belief that other people have in your abilities. So the first mindset shift that I want you to make is that your job title is not your potential. So I think a lot of people subconsciously think, this is what I've done so far, these are my skills, and this is where I'm at professionally, and that's it. But change and growth happen when you adopt a growth mindset. So instead of just thinking, this is where I'm at, this is what I can do, and that's it, you think, this is where I'm at currently, but I know I can get further and I can keep growing, I can keep developing, and I can always learn new things. And when you shift your thoughts that way, that's when you start to see a lot of change, because you don't see any kind of limits or boundaries to what you can achieve. You start to reach for things that feel a little bit further out of your comfort zone. You maybe start to push yourself a little more, take on extra challenges. Maybe you start to take on opportunities or apply for things before you feel 100% ready. And this is also where your confidence grows, because if you take on a challenge that feels a little bit outside of your comfort zone and you manage to get through it, that also feeds back into your confidence. Now your confidence has grown, so you realize you can do something else, maybe a little bit harder again, and the cycle keeps going. So it's about not waiting until you feel confident first, but about taking those opportunities and letting the confidence come from doing the work. And a lot of career growth doesn't come from suddenly feeling more capable. You don't wake up feeling more capable one day. It's about doing the work before you feel 100% ready. The next mindset shift is about focusing on learning rather than just outcomes. So I think having big goals and things to work towards and outcome-driven goals is very important and very relevant for certain situations, especially if you are thinking about a promotion or a pay rise. You need to have those evidence-based goals and those clear things to aim towards. But I don't think they're the most useful all the time. If you only focus on outcomes, it can be easy to become bored or feel like everything feels repetitive, because if you're getting to a stage where you've realized you're feeling stuck or everything is feeling a bit the same, there are high chances that you haven't learned anything new in a long while. Sometimes it's more helpful to shift your focus and ask yourself, what am I learning right now? Or what have I learned recently? What is something I've done that is new to me? And if you can't answer those questions, that's a good sign that something needs to change. And that doesn't always mean leaving your job or, again, making a big drastic change. But maybe it's just about changing how you approach your work or seeking new opportunities within your current role. Maybe it's about asking for those opportunities or seeking them out yourself. Or if you can't find it within your current role, maybe a transition into a different team. So again, you're not drastically moving companies, but there is usually some kind of flexibility and some scope of movement that you are allowed within your role or within your company. And as well as that, your current job is not the whole picture again. So think about what you can learn outside of work. If you can maybe do that alongside your job, as long as you're kind of learning and progressing in some way, that's always going to be so valuable. And if you're always finding new ways to learn and keep staying on top of new skills, this is what's going to make your work interesting, and it's what's going to keep you engaged and also make your role feel new each time. It's going to give your role that kind of extra little glow up if you've been feeling like you're stuck or pretty stagnant. So learning new things is the key piece of the puzzle. If you've been feeling a little stuck in your career lately or just been feeling like you want a little more, hopefully this video gave you some ideas on where you can start. Whether that's around being more intentional about the skills that you're building or improving your daily habits or just making those subtle mindset shifts. If you found this video helpful, feel free to let me know and share with someone else who you think will also find it helpful. I'll leave my links in the description box below and let me know in the comments what you're trying to work on at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully see you next time.